This program is sponsored by Newcastle County Government.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Reuben's Indian Kitchen, and today we're going vegan. One of our camera people actually is a vegan, so I decided to dedicate this episode to him. Shout out to Brandon, right over there on camera 3. Look at him, looking so good. He's so excited for this. So we're gonna make two things today. We're gonna be doing a 3-bean curry, so it's kind of a take on a dish called Kadala curry. Kadala curry is pretty much a black chickpea curry, but we're going to be using 3 beans today. We're going to be using a mix of black beans, we're going to be using a mix of pinto beans, and a mix of red kidney beans, all right? And that's going to help give us our protein that we're looking for. So right now I have a nice hot pan right here, and I'm going to just throw a little bit of oil in there. And as always on this show, we're going to start off with just a little bit of ginger garlic paste and our onions. So what we're looking for is we're just going to keep cooking these at kind of a low heat so that you get some beautiful, beautiful color on there. And then as it starts to get nice and colorful, we're going to add some of our spices. Now I have this almost kind of painter's palette over here of a bunch of different spices. I have red chili flake, I have some coriander, some cumin, turmeric, some curry powder, ginger, garlic, and a little bit of Amchur powder. The Amchur powder is just a little bit of dried mango powder, so it's just going to add a little bit of acid. If you can't find it, it's not a huge deal. You don't have to have this in your dish, but it does add just a little bit of extra acidity to your dish and help kind of cut through the richness that comes from those beans. So we're getting there. I'm going to turn up the heat just a little bit. Now our side dish for this is very similar to what something like my mom would make for like one day, right? So it has our rice. We have our rice cooking in our rice cooker. We have a little bit of spicy kale that we're going to do with just a little bit of mustard seed. And we're going to do with this curry. So this curry is going to be the main star of our dish today though. So once our onions are getting nice and translucent, we're going to turn up the heat just a little bit, and we're going to add these spices one at a time. And I put these spices in here just like my mom taught me from the order that we're going to put it in. So we're going to put in our cumin, coriander, and our garam masala, and then our curry powder and our red chili flake. Then we're going to turn it around, put in our turmeric, ginger powder, our garlic powder, onion powder, and our Amchur powder. The Amchur powder is actually like the secret star of this dish in my opinion. It's a dried mango powder, and it doesn't actually have a lot of sweetness to it. It actually has no sweetness at all because it's the dried mango, so all of the acidity and all the citric acid kind of gets broken down. Now you can see all of our onions are getting nice and coated in our spices and seasonings. All right, so now we're just going to add our 3 beans to it. Now if you want to use fresh beans, highly recommend it. But if you're crunched for time, you're going to see I'm going to put this dish together in less than half an hour. If you guys have the time to soak your beans overnight, to put everything in, put all your beans overnight, you can use that same liquid to cook with. It actually has a lot of starch in it, and it actually has what's called aquafaba. If you guys have been keeping up with the whole vegan vegetarian trend, aquafaba has been used to kind of make some foams and whipped cream almost. So if you ever hear aquafaba, that's usually referring to the juice that comes out of the can of chickpeas. So that liquid that comes out, you can whip that up, and it almost is like a foam or like a froth you can add. So once our beans are nice and covered, we're going to add just a couple spoonfuls of our tomato product in here. So I like to add about half a can or about 12 ounces. And I like to cook this down too because it's just gonna, if you just add the rest of your ingredients to this, you're gonna have a raw tomato flavor, and it's just not gonna taste as good as caramelizing those natural sugars in the tomato. So now we're just gonna add water to this. We are gonna turn that down to a simmer. Put our lid right back on, and we're gonna come back to that in just a little bit. Now the other component for this whole meal today is our greens. Now I'm a fan of kale. I know a lot of people don't like kale, didn't like to get on that kale propaganda, but I love it. I know some people think it tastes woody, some people think it doesn't taste very good, but if you cook it down and you cook it right, just like any greens, like collard greens or spinach, it's gonna come out really, really delicious and really, really beautiful. And today what we're going to be using is we're going to be using some mustard seeds. So I'm using just whole black mustard seeds, and I'm using a very, very special chili called a Bayadi chili, and it has a decent amount of spice to it. So we're only going to use about half of this, and we're not even going to mix it in. We're just going to use it to perfume our oil with it. So it's not going to be mixed all the way through. It's just going to be kind of infused in our oil. So we're going to add just oil to our pan right here. I feel like in the last couple years, vegan and vegetarianism has really kind of come a long way with the Beyond Meats. Like any of these curries and stuff that I've made, you can definitely incorporate like the fake chicken meat. You can use like the vegetarian meatballs. You can use any of that stuff. So this right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the mustard seeds to this oil. This is this is going to be very scary for a second because it's called spluttering the seeds in the oil. And so I'm going to turn it up. And as it turns up, it's going to start splattering everywhere. And this is when I'm going to add our chili. I started on low so that the oil can kind of slowly heat up and slowly get infused with all of these beautiful flavors before we add our kale. Let's just check on our curry here. So it's just slowly starting to heat up. Another fun part about this curry is that to thicken it up, what you do is you mash some of the beans on the side so it naturally thickens up. If you wanted to add coconut milk to it or coconut cream, you totally can. If you wanted to just take out the beans and just add chickpeas, if you wanted to add garbanzo beans, whatever, pinto beans, like white beans, you can do whatever bean you want in this curry. It's going to be completely vegan and vegetarian too. So I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm going to try to lean down just a little bit so you guys can kind of hear the spices when they start to infuse that oil. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Another big thing with these greens is that you want to make sure you cook them down for a while. Because that's the way you're just going to get a really beautiful and tender. And this whole thing is going to cook down so quickly. I'm going to put all this in our saute pan here, because you're going to see it's going to look like it's a lot. And just like with any greens, it's going to leach out a lot of that moisture. Now you notice today I didn't use any ghee or butter or anything like that because I wanted to keep it as vegan as possible today, as vegetarian as possible. So you guys can, I guess you guys could smell it, but you guys can see our curry starting to come together just a little bit, right? Now ideally, if you guys had the fresh beans, it would take so much longer to cook, but because we used that, we're just gonna taste it real quick. It's really good. It just needs a nice amount of salt to it. Right. We're just going to give this guy a quick stir. Make sure all of the kale gets kind of covered in that beautiful oil that we infuse. You can already see it's starting to cook down a lot. A lot of that volume has already kind of gone down by almost half. Check on our curry again. There we go. Now we're starting to get there. So now at this point, you guys can see I'm going to just start taking my spatula and I'm going to mash some of it on the side. This is going to kind of help thicken it up just a little bit. Now, a lot of people always ask me if I'm vegetarian because there's such a huge vegetarian population in India. A lot of people think in Hinduism, people think that cows are sacred. So if you ever go to India, you'll see cows just walking in the streets. Sometimes they'll hold up traffic. It's pretty wild out there. You can start to see our kale is starting to cook down just a little bit. I'm going to turn it down really, really low. I know a lot of people that don't like their vegetables, but I'll tell you what, in Indian culture, we have a lot of great Indian vegetable dishes. Just taste it real quick. So you get the spiciness from the mustard seeds, and you just get just a little bit of that spice from the chili. Let that do its thing right there. Now you can see just that. I'm going to show you guys real quick. You saw how much water I put in there? You can see how thick it's already starting to get just from mashing those beans on the side. Now if you wanted to, what you could even do is you could take maybe like 1 cup out of here, half a cup out of here, and blend it in a blender so it got nice and smooth, and then add that back to this. Traditionally, they serve this with a side dish called puttu, P-U-T-U. It is a coconut and rice dish where it's almost like compressed, and it takes a super long time to make. And I wish I could show you guys that, but it just took way too long, and there's no way I was gonna get that ready for you guys today. This would also be really great with dosas. Dosas are an Indian crepe that is like a fermented dough batter, and we cook it on a cast iron. It gets super thin and crispy. It's served usually with like potatoes and stuff, but it's just super delicious. Right. Now to finish off our curry over here, it still needs a little bit of time. I'm just going to cut up just a little bit of cilantro. Super thin. You want to make sure your knife is super sharp for this, because if you don't, you're just going to bruise all those beautiful herbs and stuff, and then it's just going to not be as fresh and beautiful as you really want it to be. So you want to make sure you stir it just to make sure it's not sticking on the bottom. Let's give our guy one more taste. Brandon, man, I think you're going to be really happy with this dish today, dude. It's funny, I felt so bad because this whole season, throughout the season, I've been cooking stuff that's had like all meat in it, whether it's butter, everything like that. And poor Brandon hasn't been able to eat anything all season. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna cook something just for Brandon today. I even sent him a message on Instagram. I slid into his DMs and was like, hey man, this episode's just for you. Nobody else, just for Brandon. It is crazy how much that thickened up just from the beans and just reducing. Now, one thing I am going to add into here, which is not a super traditional ingredient, is just a little bit of tamarind. I think it just needs just a little bit of acid to it, so it's just going to help kind of round it out a little bit more. Take a little bit of this concentrate. Ooh. Oh man. That is Indian soul food right there. Oh my goodness. We're just going to finish it off with some cilantro. Let me just do a little bit of a cleanup here real quick. Always take this extra cilantro. Never waste it. My mom always did that. My mom always had a country crock container full of cilantro. Country crock containers never actually had country crock in my house. It was always something else in it, whether it was rice or anything. So that's looking beautiful. So now our curry is done. Our greens are done, and I have my rice in the rice cooker. So now the rice cooker, I think, is such a great tool. You can just put your rice in there and it does all the work for you. This one actually sings to me. This one's saying twinkle twinkle little star to me when I start it up, and it perfectly cooks your rice. Now I'm just gonna grab some. So to finish this up, gonna grab a nice plate full of rice. All right. And we are almost there with this curry. Just needs just a touch more time to thicken up. And I also heated up some naan bread for us because, I mean, every meal is better with naan bread. If you guys ever go out to an Indian restaurant, always order the garlic naan because that's just the way to go. All right, we are almost there. Let me just double check this. We are gonna taste this. Mm-hmm. Need just a little bit more salt. And I'm actually gonna add just a touch more chili flake because I like it just a little bit spicier. Just a little bit. You saw how much that big bowl kind of came down. This is a lot of greens right here, and I feel like I could probably eat this whole thing, and it would be really, really great. Kale has a lot of great healthy properties to it as well. It's super fresh, super herbal. I like using it in smoothies. At work, we like to make smoothies for the kids, and man, it just has such a great health quality to it. So now we're just gonna put some on of our curry. Give it a stir. You can see how beautiful that looks. Gonna put a little bit right there. And we are going to grab a little bit of our kale. Brandon said he skipped breakfast for this today. He's and because I have it, why not? I told you I did it. I have some garlic naan bread. And that is Brandon's plate. Brandon's gonna eat from that plate later. But I wanna try everything together. Now, when we used to eat at home, I ate with my hands a lot. I didn't use forks and knives. And I like to mix everything together because I like to taste everything as one big bite. So the way I used to eat this is I would mix everything together. I would get a little bit of my naan bread, and I would use my naan bread as almost like a tortilla chip. So I would just put some right on here. I mean, a bowl of this on a rainy day, nice and warm, it warms your soul. It is so great and delicious. It's vegan, it's vegetarian. I'm pretty sure even your kids would eat this because really in actuality, it's almost like a little bit of a chili. Oh man, it's so good. I can't get over how good it is because it's hitting me right here. It's hitting me right here, right in my chest, right in my soul. It's super delicious. Man, I hope you guys get to try this at home. I want you guys to try it. Mess around with your beans. Try to use fresh beans. If you guys can find the black chickpeas, highly recommended. You know, soak them overnight, use that liquid. It makes all the difference in the world, but you guys can totally do this. Do it in under 30 minutes. Guys, thank you guys for joining me. Brandon, I hope you're ready for this because I know I'm ready for you to try it, and I know I'm ready for you to see how it is. All right? And guys, thank you guys for tuning in right here on Reuben's Indian Kitchen.